Half a season, half a lifetime. Half of my soul live in my body. What's up, Fin fans? So it is now officially half of the season is here. We are now at week 9. After the first 4 games, I did my quarterly review for you guys. This week, I'm doing half the season, so I'm going to do a little bit more in depth. I have, stats. I have our rankings from the half of the season. I'm going to break down who I think the team's MVP is. I'm going to break down the biggest surprise and the biggest disappointments. And then I'm going to talk about offense, defense, special teams, my butt, your butt, everyone's butts. So let's get right into this jam, and let's have a brief synopsis of the 2018 season so far. So far, 3-0. We are hot shits. A lot of people doubted the Dolphins. A lot of people thought they're shit. They're disguised as great teams. You know, they beat shit teams, the Jets, the Titans, and the Raiders. Who are these guys? They think they're good. They're no one, right? Going to New England, we get our booties spanked. Injuries start catching up on us. Kilgore getting injured the very first play or the very first drive affects us dramatically. Get our asses handed to us. Then we go to Cincinnati. We're in Cincinnati. Everyone's like, we told you they were 3-0 and they sucked. They got asses whipped by the Patriots. We all told you guys, the media, my grandmother, your grandmother's best friend, Edith. They all told us, see, we told you guys 3-0 was a fluke start. We all knew you were going to lose to the Patriots. So the Dolphins like, hey, here comes, going up to Cincy. Let's prove these MFers wrong. We go up 17-3 in the middle of the third quarter. And you know for a fact, Bengal fans were sitting there like, shit, we're going to lose this fucking game. And Dolphin fans were sitting there like, ha, and you thought we were a fluke. You thought that 3-0 was a fluke. Yeah, we had a bad game against the Patriots. No one plays the Patriots good in Foxborough. You thought we were a fluke. Look at this, 17-3, and we're about to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. You know for a fact, a lot of Dolphin fans felt that way. I didn't feel that way personally. When we were up 17-3, I was still like, all right, don't mess us up. Keep your foot on their throats. Win the fucking game. Because we've been there too many times where we've been up and then we lost. Then all of a sudden, Larry Tunsil gets injured. Offensive line deteriorates. 14 points off the offense. Not off the defense, but off the offense. Dolphins lose the game. So then we're all down on ourselves. We're 3-2. We're like, we suck. A lot of Dolphin fans are saying we suck. We're horrible. Fire Gase. Tannehill's horrible. We need a new quarterback. I can't believe Tannehill lost us this game. Tannehill sucks. This, and that. Blah, blah, blah. Then here come the Chicago Bears. Everyone thinks Dolphins are going to get creamed by the Chicago Bears. Khalil Mack is going to come. He's going to wipe them up. He's going to beat their ass. Dolphins have no chance. Ryan Tannehill sucks. They dunzo. Then you find out that Ryan Tannehill actually seriously hurt his shoulder in that Bengals game with that sack. And all of a sudden, Brock Osweiler's the surprise game-time decision. Then Dolphin fans really think we suck. And Dolphin fans really think this season's over. We got Brock Osweiler in. They set Tannehill because they don't want Tannehill to get killed by Khalil Mack. Tannehill faking an injury. He stubbed his toe getting out of the shower. Doesn't want to play against the Bears. But then what happens? The Bears defense, which is coming into that game, were very well ranked. Especially on rush defense, especially on sacks, on pressure, on everything. Nothing. No sacks. Dolphins rush for over 100 yards. We end up winning in overtime. That was the first game where all of a sudden we start seeing the defense start to struggle. We start seeing, what's going on with this defense? We score 31. We should win handedly. What's going on? And that's the game where all of a sudden everyone starts the discussion. Brock Osweiler versus Ryan Tannehill. Who should be the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins? That's when that whole debate happens, right? March in the Detroit Lions. Now Dolphins are starting to feel themselves again, right? We're 4-2. We're a good team. We could beat a lot of good teams. If this offense can play like we did against the Chicago Bears, we could beat some teams. Here comes Detroit. Detroit doesn't have a great offensive line. Detroit defense isn't that great. Oh, look, their starting defensive defensive end is out. Dolphins should win this game. Everyone was picking the Dolphins to beat the Detroit Lions. Everyone was picking this Dolphin team to get turnovers and get in Stafford's face and beat them. We did it. The defense played absolutely putrid. Offense played really well. Brock Osweiler played really well. So all of a sudden that stock started to rise, but the defense played crappily. So it went from the Cincinnati Bengal game where we played good. All of a sudden you used to have the Chicago Bear game where we started playing bad. Then you have the Detroit game where we really start playing bad. So we lose. We're now 4-3. Sucks. Sucks real bad. Now it really starts to ramp up. The Tannehill versus Brock Osweiler talk. All of a sudden people are asking us, what is going on? Is Tannehill really hurt? Is Tannehill not hurt? What's going on with this team? What's going on? Thursday night, short week, banged up team, super banged up team. We're going to go face the Houston Texans. Brock is facing his old team. Can Brock pull it out? At some point, you thought to yourself, the Dolphins have a chance to win this game. I think it was 7-0 at some point. You know, we got a fluky flag that, you know, got us back into red zone. We ran it in, scored a touchdown. So at some point, you know, there was a point where we were down by 11, then we would score a touchdown, be down by 4, and the defense would give it right back up. It was just, this was the game where you start seeing the fatigue on this defense. And I will talk about that why later on in the video. But then all of a sudden we lose, and we're at where we're at right now, 4-4, with injuries galore, with shitty defense and an okay offense. So let's get into one of my reasons why we're 4-4, and one of my reasons why all of a sudden we started 3-0, and then we finish 1-4. Look at this current injuries. Look how many people are on IR. William Hayes, our #1 run stopper, and the guy who held this defensive line together. Why? I have no idea, but that's just how he was. Josh Sitton, the big free agency pickup at guard, gone for the year. Marquise Gray, our supposed starting tight end, was gone before the season even started. Jake Brendel's actually capable of coming back, so that's a good thing. Vincent Taylor just found out this week that he's done for the year. He goes to IR. We lose another defensive tackle. Albert Wilson, the biggest loss in that Detroit game, Albert Wilson. Chase Allen actually is coming back. He's off of IR. Luke Falk, he was a prospect. We put him on IR. That's not that big of a deal. And then Daniel Kilgore, our center, who we lost in the Patriots game. So if you look at that injuries of this team, it's just bad. That's the reason why I think we started 3-0 and all of a sudden we started falling apart, because we physically started falling apart. And some of the injuries had nothing to do with training, had nothing to do with medicine, had nothing to do with exercise, had nothing to do with preparation. It was fluky bullshit injuries. Albert Wilson's injury, fluke. William Hayes' injury, fluke. Josh Sitton's injury, fluke. Danny Kilgore's injury, fluke. Marquise Gray's injury. They're all like, you couldn't, if they had a better chance of winning the lottery than getting these injuries, but the Dolphins got these goddamn injuries. Drove me nuts. And I honestly think that these injuries here are the reason why the Dolphins are in the situation they're at, which is mediocrity. Now I'm going to break down offense and defensive stats and rankings, and we'll see where we're at with that. If you look at passing, right, the Dolphins, when it comes to first down alone, they have 137 first downs. On defense, they've given up 172 first downs. They're ranked 28 and 21st, respectively, in first downs, getting and giving up. That's horrible. If you look at points, 174 points we've scored. We've given up 219 points. That's 22 and 27. That's bad. That's horrible. Passing yards, 1,810 passing yards. That's 23rd ranked. That's bad. This offense and passing has been bad. If you look at the defense, 21-19, same, 23rd. So it's like the offense and defense have been playing this line of mediocrity. Actually ranked, they're bad. They're the lower half of the league. If you look at first downs, and if you look at first downs given up, the Dolphins are bad. Again, lower half. A lot of these stats with the Dolphins on offense and defense are lower halves. The one thing that the Dolphins offense has is they're ranked 10th in passing touchdowns, but on defense they're ranked 22nd in giving up passing touchdowns. Interceptions, the Dolphins are ranked 4th. Dolphins are actually the best, one of the best in the league at getting interceptions and getting turnovers. But giving up interceptions, the Dolphins are ranked 19th with 8. So when it comes to passing, this team is just very meh. And then on defense, a lot of those stats and a lot of the 23rd ranked and all that stuff, a lot of that was padded with the 3 games against the Bears, against the Lions, and against the Texans, where all of a sudden this defense started to seriously fall apart. If you look at rushing, this is where you really start to see the problem with this Dolphins team. Rushing, they're ranked 17th with 864 yards and 31st with 3 touchdowns. That's bad. If you look at the defense, they've given up 1,145 yards and 7 touchdowns. That's 29th ranked. That's literally, there's only 3 other teams that are worse than them at run defense. This run defense is absolutely putrid, and that's why they picked up Williams, and that's why they picked up Ziggy Hood, because they needed help at defensive line. But the main reason that we're looking at these stats is I honestly think that, look at the time, the average drive time. On offense, this team averages 2 minutes and 27 seconds. Obviously not a lot of that is scoring because they're ranked 22nd in points. And if you look at defense, their average on-field time is 2 minutes and 53 seconds. That's 28th ranked. And that's why they have 219 points given. The fact that this offense is constantly off the field really quick was killing this defense, was tiring out this defense. Look at the injuries. If you break it down game by game, look at the rushing defense for this Dolphins team when it comes to rushing yards for every game. There's only been one game, which is the Jets game, that a team hasn't rushed for over 100 yards on this Dolphins team. And I'm surprised that they beat the 4 teams that they beat, giving up 116 rushing yards, 109 rushing yards, and 164 rushing yards. That's bad. That's really bad. So if you look at all those stats, and if you break down the offense and the defense, what I would grade the offense at is probably like a C+ as of right now. The offense still it's okay, but it's not pulling its weight, especially when it came to the first 3 to 4 to 5 games of the season where we weren't even scoring points. We didn't start really scoring points until the Browns game. But if you look at the defense, I would still probably give them about a C to C+ rating, because they were really good for the first 4 or 5 games of the season. It wasn't until the friggin' Bears game that all of a sudden this defense started playing like shit. Yeah, they gave up a good amount of rushing yards, and the yardage really started sucking, but that's because they were playing that bend don't break defense for the first 5 games. Look at the turnovers. The only time they stopped getting turnovers was the last 2 games, Detroit and Houston. No turnovers. Other than that, 3-3, 2-2, 1-3. Constantly getting turnovers. So that's why I'm ranking like, this team started one way and ended another way. Started defense hot, offense sucked, ended defense sucked, offense hot. Very mediocre team, a definition of a 4-4 team. You look at special teams, I would rank special teams high. I give them a B at special teams, because there's some games that the special teams won us the game. There's those games where Jakeem Grant returned the touchdown against the Titans, returned the touchdown against the Bengals, that kind of brought us still in the game or won us the game. So the special teams gets a high ranking. When it comes to coaching, you guys all want to know my coaching ranking. Y'all want to know it. I give the coaching probably the same that I'll give their offense and defense, is like a C+. It's mediocre. There were some great coaching games, there were some great coaching calls, and there's horrible coaching games and horrible coaching calls. But this is what and a lot of you guys hate this, I guess you could say, excuse. But you have to see the injuries. You have to see what they're working with. They have backups of backups playing at this point. And if you, like I said before, you can call the best game you possibly could. If the guy can't execute it, you're gonna pull your hair out. Look at the Texans game, our last game. Blown plays, blown coverages. What is Burke supposed to do? Get on the field and do it himself? So I would give them that mediocrity of a C+ rating. You get what you are, and that's what your offense and defense are, and that's because of you. But those are my ratings for the offense, defense, special teams, coaching. Those are the rankings of the offense, special teams, the offense and defense. Now I'm going to give you my MVP. The guy who I think is the reason why this team is doing as well as it does. And without him on the field, the team is probably way worse without him. And I would honestly say that for me, the MVP is Rashad Jones. You saw when he wasn't on the field how bad this team was. You saw how, I know the defense is playing bad, but you saw how worse it was without him on the team, how dynamic he is, how he's in that box, how he's making sure to cover the right person, making sure to make the tackle. I honestly would say Rashad Jones is my MVP. My biggest surprise, honestly, Albert Wilson. I know him coming in, he was supposed to take over for Jarvis Landry. He was supposed to be better than Jarvis Landry. We got Amendola and him for Jarvis's money. But I didn't think he'd be this good. I didn't think he would be the dynamic player he is, where every time that dude got the ball in his hands, he was making plays. He did it in Cincinnati and Kansas City, but they limited him, so we didn't really know it. And once he came with this team, once he started lighting it up before he got injured, he was my biggest surprise. Biggest disappointment, I kind of want to have a whole unit in this one, is the defensive line. I'm disappointed in Cameron Wake. I know he's old, I know he's banged up, but I'm disappointed in Robert Quinn too. We traded for you. You played great against the Titans. You played great in preseason. You're supposed to light it up and get sacks. I blame these guys, but then you also can look at the offense because they had to do so much those first 5 games. They got burnt out. Overall, this team is what this team is. They're mediocre. If you looked at my first quarter review, I said that the word is resilience. This team was resilient. They were 3-1. They came back from 3. They came back in the Raiders game. You know, they show resilience. They stick. They fight. Now, after the halfway mark, my word for this team is mediocrity, inconsistency. We don't know which team's going to play. We don't know which team's going to show up. But that's my review for the first half of the season. What do I see for the second half of the season? What's my future prediction for the second half of the season? If this defensive line can play anywhere as good as it did against the Titans and get disruptive and stop the run and force turnovers, I honestly could see this team going 9-7, 10-6. I know I'm going to get tons of comments saying, you're out of your goddamn mind if you think that's what's going to happen. This team sucks, blah, 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 blah. If the defensive line plays like it should, and if the offense continues to produce touchdowns and big plays. But if the defensive line continues to play like they do, keeps giving up big runs, keeps giving up big plays, and the offense keeps faltering, 6-10. They think they'll win 2 more games. I think they'll beat the Bills. I think they'll surprise a team, but I honestly think they'll go 6-10. And then if that happens, there will be firings. I think Tannenbaum will get fired. I think the defensive coordinator will get fired. I don't know. Right now, I don't know if Adam Gase will get fired. I think there'll be big changes. Maybe even ownership changes, because at this point, you need to think, like, what are you doing wrong, Ross? You've been with this team for how long? And constantly here. But that's my review of the half of the season. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. If I missed anything, if there's some things you guys want to bring up that has been bothering you about the first half of the season, comment below. Let me know. Speaking of comment below, let's get to your comment of the day. And this comment comes from Twitter. I tweeted out asking you guys to ask me a question or have a comment for this video. And this one comes from Jared Bryan. And he says, try not to look ahead to the draft and the free agency, but you mentioned Tannehill may not be with the Dolphins next year. I agree, but the draft and free agency looks kind of crappy though. Where do Dolphins find 2019 starting quarterback? I wholeheartedly agree. This is what I would personally do with Ryan Tannehill. I would tell him that he needs to restructure the contract or he's gone. $26 million for Ryan Tannehill is way too much money. But see, this is what I'm confused about with his contract, right? From what I know, the last 2 years in his contract are not guaranteed. There's no money attached between the Dolphins and him for the last 2 years of his contract because of the restructuring he did in the beginning of last year. But then there's other things going in. So let me read you. Barry Jackson put an article out essentially breaking down Ryan Tannehill's contract, which then I think confuses me even more. So he says if the Dolphins release Tannehill after the season, they would owe him nothing more financially because none of money in the final 2 seasons of his contract through 2020 is guaranteed. Okay, cool. So fucking cut him if he doesn't want to 26, if he doesn't want to really redo it and cut 26 million off there. But then he goes on to saying exploring the scenarios. So, okay, sure. If Tannehill is on the team under contract, he would be paid 86 million in 2019 with a 26 million cap hit. Too much money for Tannehill. If the Dolphins cut him without a post-June destination, then he would be 13 million in dead money. And 13, but it would save 13. But you just said they don't owe him money. So I'm confused as shit as to why those 2 scenarios of a before or after post-June cut, there's dead money on there. And if you look at other places, there's like $5 million next year in dead money if if we cut him. So regardless, to me, I say to Tannehill, you need to restructure because 26 million is way too much for you. And then if he says, sure, I'll restructure, we cut down his wages, we have him be a starter or finally compete to be a starter, I would bring in Teddy Bridgewater and I would draft a quarterback. If Tannehill says, no, I don't want to restructure, I cut his ass. And from my understanding of his contract, there is no money guaranteed to him, so we don't have any dead money, or we have 5 million, which is better than 26, and I would still bring in Teddy Bridgewater and I would draft a quarterback. That's what I would do in quarterback situation next year, but it all depends on if he plays after the bye, because I don't see him playing till after the bye, and if he lights it up for the final 6 games of the season. But that is the video. Be sure to comment below. Let me know what you think of my rant on the Tannehill contract and what I would do with Tannehill. Also, let me know what you think of the whole mid-season review video. I know this is a long one, but there's a lot of shit I have to talk about. Be sure to follow me on Twitter because I tweet out a ton of things about the Dolphins. I retweet as soon as I get information about the Dolphins, and I give you guys my thoughts on it there. I also chat with you guys during the game. Dolphins are playing the Jets, so I'll be home. I'll be able to interact with you guys more and tweet things out that piss me off about watching the game. So follow me on Twitter. Follow my second channel. We just put out our first in a while Madden video yesterday, so be sure to go over to the Bit Boys, subscribe there. We got a ton of cool games, Soul Calibur. We're playing Madden again, God of War, Mario Party, Mega Man, like tons of games. And then comment below if there's a game you want us to play. Hey, we'll play it. You want us to play Red Dead Redemption 2? We'll play it. Give this video a thumbs up because I know the first half of the season was completely mediocre, but I honestly think if this team can get their shit together, if this defensive line can get their shit together, there is a chance at the playoffs. And I know a lot of you guys are like, we go to the playoffs and then we lose. What the hell is the point of it? It's to get to the playoffs. You never know, man. We haven't done shit in how long? We haven't gone to the Super Bowl in how long? Just to make it to the playoffs is a great feeling. So give a thumbs up just for that simple fact. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I love football. I talk about football. I'm going to be doing a ton of things on this channel, just not football, but for right now it's football season, so football. But other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow with my review of the Dolphins-Jets game. We need this win more than you'll ever know. Like usual, though, stay classy. Fins up. Talked about some of the trades that happened with like Golden Tate, Demaryius Thomas, Dante Fowler, all that jazz. And then the Dolphins signed Ziggy Hood, who's a defensive end, maybe defensive tackle hybrid. They're going to put him in. I'm hearing he's a good edge setter when it comes to runs, which we desperately need. We need